So I have a question. If nobody's on, do I just talk? Hey, everybody. This is Jennifer Shelgren in Atlanta. And we are going to be talking about market trends south. So, hey, Shannon. Hey, Dan. How are you? If anybody has any questions, please raise their hand. I would love for this. I have not come prepared to do a presentation. I have come, hey Margie, I've come to really have a conversation and lead a conversation. So please jump in. We are talking here about the market, specifically how it is in the South. And can we make you a panelist? Samantha, I'm assuming you're going to be able to make Brad a panelist. Awesome. Hey, Brad.
Hey, I'm here.
And remind me where you are again.
Pretty much South Carolina, yeah. Columbia, Greenville, Charleston, a little bit in between.
Gotcha. And were you guys ever non-essential when this went down?
No.
Neither were we. So our market has been it's been going. It's been different, but it has really been going throughout this whole time. And in some parts of the market are really thriving. We're seeing the market that we serve is generally the in-town core urban neighborhoods of Atlanta. If it is an entry-level condo or home at the entry level of the market, it is multiple offers, and even when multiple showings, and it's was not really what we expected. So it's been robust.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like I got a question from Shannon. Shannon, are you in the Charlotte market, or are you just curious about what's going on there? That'll help us give you, because I know Charlotte got walloped pretty good with the pandemic. Very interested in the market. I have businesses there.
And the North Carolina counties, like some counties shut down, some didn't, and it made it complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. 1.7 months of inventory in Charlotte is what. Julie.
I'm here. Sorry, my internet went out for a second. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Shannon.
Okay, great. Yeah, so actually, coming from a little bit different side, I'm with Wow Video Tours. So we do, all the amazing videography, photography. So it was very interesting in Charlotte there for a bit. And so, yeah, we have a great business down there. We love it. We're based out of Ohio. So we were working with the Ohio market and then, of course, the Charlotte market. So, just interested to see how you guys feel. We know what we kind of feel down there. And April and May were very interesting down there. But we are seeing it pick up. But inventory is so tight. I mean, it's been very tight all over. But I feel like Charlotte all of a sudden is getting just so compressed.
Well, wasn't the inventory to begin with low before this started, Shannon?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That's the thing. It's when it's anemic and you have this, I mean, the demand hasn't stopped for real estate. I mean, our world has stopped, but people have to move on.
Yeah, and I'm actually getting really interested in the commercial market. I think is going to take a really interesting turn as well. I was thinking about this after a lot of great talks yesterday. A lot of these businesses getting out of all these call centers, and what's going to happen with all these spaces?
Class A office space. I really think that I think that there's going to be a lot of disruption in that market in the next several years when some of these big leases roll up for renewal. And I know in Atlanta, we've had a huge boom. I live and work in the Midtown market, which is kind of the center of the city. And we've had some big corporate relocations that have come kind of from the Amazon boomerang. And you have some really expensive office space that was built specifically targeting all the needs of having these kind of Google-esque facilities and all. Mm-hmm. And now a lot of those workers are able to work from home, and the companies that are renting that space. And I'm not sure what price per square foot is in the world of office, but I think that's going to be up for some big changes in the next few years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they redevelop them into maybe apartment living more, different things like that. So I'm very intrigued. The markets, what's happening. It's very interesting. So, just excited to be here, learn, hear what else is going on in the different pockets.
Yeah, I think, from what I've heard from around the country, and there was an article oh, I can't remember which publication it was in recently. It was a national publication, and I think the South has really fared the best in terms of not really losing momentum during COVID. And I don't know if it's a function of our prices are lower around the country, or we were not as, real estate was essential to begin with. Probably a mixed bag.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I'm curious, Donnie, the VP for Florida operations of Side, you want to jump on here and let us know a little bit? I would assume you know a lot about Florida market, so we're not just talking about South Carolina and Georgia.
Yeah.
We would be, and anybody else that wants to join, like literally just raise your hand on the app and then we'll let you in. It's just kind of one of those, there we go. Oh, there's Donnie. So Donnie, what are you thinking? What are you seeing, bud?
You're on mute. Donnie, there you go.
There you go.
All right. Thanks for having me join. Yeah, we've seen a massive transformation in the last 30 days in Florida across the board. We're just getting a complete influx of everybody from urban areas, Columbus, Ohio, Philadelphia, New York, Boston. We feel it's about a 3-month burst because it's mostly families who are trying to get in for the school season for early August. So we've been telling all our broker partners the time is now to really double down on your marketing and your actions, because this is the time where all the deals are going to be had over the next 2-3 months.
Donnie, what part of Florida are you in?
I reside in South Florida, but again, we have brokerages throughout the entire state, from Fort Walton Beach to Orlando, all over.
I was talking to my mom this morning. She's in West Palm, and she said we're going to see a summer season, which is, usually this is the time of year that everyone leaves Florida, and she says she's seeing the exact opposite happen.
Well, normally in Florida you have South Americans coming in, but this year that's not going to happen for travel restrictions. So it's going to be a complete flip model. But again, I think the good brokers, folks who are, attending conferences like this, are going to get a head start and going to have a really prosperous summer. So we're pretty excited. Just curious to see if you're seeing in other parts of the South similar kind of trends.
Yeah, we are a single family kind of residency here. Like most of my markets, we're not secondary homes. So I'm curious. I grew up on the coast in Charleston and Myrtle Beach, and they were booming. And so I'm curious to see how the secondary market's going to play out. And I'm also curious if like Ohio, Indiana, Michigan are just going to empty out into South Carolina like it's the 4th of July. So I'm curious about that.
And I'm curious about, so what we're noticing here is so the entry point of the market, whatever the entry point is for a particular submarket, is on fire, but the midpoint and the upper point is softer. So right now in the luxury market, you as a buyer will have a great opportunity. And if a seller's willing to sell and price it right, they're selling at a discount. How are you guys seeing your mid-tier and your upper tier markets?
Ours stopped during COVID, especially when most banks I felt like stopped doing jumbos for a while, which really our average on market's 250. So we're not really that big, right? But it did hurt. That's our market, is the jumbo and above. So it did hurt for a little bit, but I think it's rebounding. We're seeing more and more jumbo products moving now.
What about Florida, Donnie?
Yeah, in Florida, we got a tale of two markets. So the single family home market, we are not traditionally a multiple offer type market, but we're seeing multiple offers on everything up to $8 million in Miami. Our condo market, real flat. And again, it's that new mindset where people are looking for space. They're appreciating their own, area, their yard, their pool. So our single families off the charts hot, and our condos still pretty lukewarm.
I heard something about condos. We sell a lot of condos where I'm in Atlanta, and one of our attorneys had a meeting with an economist, and one of the things that they said is a potential challenge in some of these buildings is, unlike hotels, their ventilation and certain things are not built to handle air going out, and that may cause a very interesting tick in that submarket, depending upon how all this plays out over the next however long it plays out.
Yeah. What's the consensus? Excuse me. Do y'all think that our summer season is going to be pushed into the August, September, October, or do you think we're going to get right back in the normal, whatever cycle you have? I guess I should say your normal cycles, or do you think it'll be extended?
For us in Atlanta, I'm expecting it to take a little bit of a breath this summer and really rally in the fall. I feel like our fall is going to be what our spring was supposed to be.
Yeah, in Florida, we're a little more cautious about Q3 and Q4. We think that, the unfortunate ripple effects of COVID with the unemployment rates and the small business owners being affected, that may kind of stagnate the market in the short term, not to April, May standards, but we think there might be a little bit of a blip. And going back to Jennifer's comments about the commercial, we really feel there's going to be a lot of commercial opportunity, a lot of commercial turnover. So some of our commercial partners are really excited in terms of, getting in the mix and making sure that their clients are being fulfilled.
Brad, you said you had a question, bud. What would you like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I'm in Pinehurst, Southern Pines, North Carolina, historically a golfing retirement place, which, golfing hasn't necessarily maintained its popularity as the demographics have shifted. Pinehurst, in fact, Pinehurst National Country Club, which is, one of the world's most elite, their average age of membership is 73. Average age is 73. My question is for people in like Hilton Head or a lot of the golfing communities in Florida, are you seeing any resurgence at all in people wanting to move and locate themselves in golfing communities for the purpose of golfing, not just, I want a nice golf course view, I don't play golf? And have you seen any movement like that? Because that usually, historically, this market seems not to be a leader in that because of the prices and things. We have 42 golf courses in a 10-mile circle here. We don't tend to be a leader in that, but as other markets are moving, that's when Pinehurst seems to start moving.
Yeah, there was somebody on, I believe, from Hilton Head earlier. If they want to raise their hand, or any golf communities want to jump, let us know.
And as that goes on too, we're also on the western edge of Fort Bragg, and that PCS thing has been affecting us. And now that the Department of Defense has finally basically told every base, now you can move personnel, but it's all based upon the state's guidelines. The DOD didn't have any guidelines other than the state's guidelines, and so we've been waiting on that, because that's probably a third of our business here during this season is the PCS season for military. So we're golfing and military. So I'm just kind of curious if anyone has seen any golfing, because military is going to come.
So Lori just jumped on, and she's also in your area. Hey, Lori.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Lori Davis, and this
Scott
is my
Lincecum.
partner, Scott Lincecum. We own Better Homes and
Hey,
Gardens
what's going on, Brad?
here.
And Brad.
And Brad.
Yeah, Scott, just leave me out, man. Just leave me out. It's cool.
He was talking to you, not me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've just been super busy even through all of this.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
And a big part of that is, our inventory has shrunk. We only have, what we have available. We are lucky enough to represent a regional builder and have several developments and have a lot of new construction, which has continued to move at a pretty fast pace, because that was easy to show and easy to see. Whereas a lot of the existing homes were, the listing, the sellers didn't want people in their house because they didn't, want the virus coming in. So there was a lot of those that weren't being shown. But no, all in all, I mean, we've been pretty busy. And like Brad said, we have the military, which drives a significant portion of our market here. And, that obviously was stalled a little bit. So we're planning on seeing that bump coming when that all breaks and they're allowed to move again. We've had some military that have even moved without, I guess.
Bought and sold. I think we have 7 houses sitting empty that have closed.
Yeah.
But they still haven't moved here.
Yeah, because part of my reasoning was because when I'm thinking about marketing and looking forward is, do I need to throw marketing dollars into some of the suburban markets in places where the virus has hit hard, where people are escaping? Is it a good time to spend marketing dollars to market Pinehurst in general? Because, obviously we're upping our military marketing dollars right now, but marketing for that outside crowd that may be looking to escape these areas where we're seeing more protests, more COVID, all this kind of stuff. Is it a good time to do that based upon what movement anyone in this group is seeing so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are great questions. I think those are also pretty specific to like your business model. So if anybody has anything to add to that, why don't you hit Brad up? He'll be in everything else. But Jennifer Lockhart, why you joined in? What questions or what do you want to add to the conversation?
I would just say I'm in the Fayetteville side, so I'm on the other side of Fort Bragg from Pinehurst. And we have seen a huge increase in the multiple offer situation in our area. I mean, multiple offers, you know, I just saw one yesterday, there was 18 offers. There were 20 showings in one day and seven offers on another house that we had. So, you know, I'm definitely seeing that situation. I'm seeing, you know, in our area, seller paid closing costs have been, in the Fayetteville area, have been pretty given. And what I'm seeing is, you know, sometimes no seller paid closing costs, sometimes, because we're a high VA market. On the Fayetteville side, we're probably 80%, 85% VA FHA market. And because I mean, a lot of our loans, I'd say 75% of our loans are VA loans. But we've seen a huge amount of traffic during this whole COVID, you know, situation. Yeah. We've been able to go out and show houses, considered, you know, because North Carolina, you're considered essential. So we've been able to get out there. The one thing that's been a bit of an interesting, it's getting better, but the one thing that's been a bit of an interesting situation is that the lending side had really tightened up a lot. And I don't know if other people are finding that, but I find that the lending side, the credit scores have gone up, the reserves required have gone up, and it's definitely pushed some people in our marketplace, because our average price sale is 150 to 160. So, you know, it's definitely pushed some of those people out of the market. But that's basically what we're seeing. And our inventory, you know, at the beginning of the year, I think was over 1,800, and I think we're down to 1,300 houses available.
Well, I think the difference is, for those of y'all that weren't in through the last recession, is lenders took forever to increase credit score minimums, if you will. Like, it would be 6 months and they'd go up 20. I mean, JP Morgan Chase came out overnight and was like 700, you can't play here. Like, they just it put everybody on pause. And actually, a lot of my lender friends got scared because, like, this is Chernobyl for us. Like, they had loans they couldn't even close because they ramped them up so fast. So I think they learned from their past mistakes with the housing recession. Lenders did. They swung too far on the other side of the pendulum, and I think they've come back now. But yeah, I'm in Columbia, which we have Fort Jackson and Shaw Air Force Base, but we're more of a training facility than we are a house, like a station facility. So we do have PCSing, but not a whole lot. But I think, Missy, you're down in Hilton Head. How's the secondary home? And Lucy, we'll get to you next if that's all right. How's the secondary home and your market doing?
Secondary home is still doing well, especially the lower priced inventory that they can rent out, you know, when they're not using it. Like the condos down on the beach are still doing well. Our golf communities, if it's a private golf community, it's impossible to sell in there. And then we have a big, most of ours is the public golf courses that have the communities. We still have a lot of people coming in for those. And we have Latitude, Margaritaville, Hilton Head down here, and that is exploded. So that seems to be where the majority of out of town is coming, you know, relocating to the area.
Missy, is the private golf community because of price and the cost to be a member of those clubs?
Yeah, we actually live in one of the public golf communities, and our POAs here are $169 a month, where when you're in the private communities, it's closer to $1,000 a month.
Gotcha.
So, and we have almost the same amenities that they have. It's just that the golf course itself is paid for publicly instead of the community supporting it.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. Miss Lucy Edwards, what are you seeing?
Hi, I'm in New Jersey, New York area. So
you got lost. You're lost. Wrong channel. Gotta go.
Well, it's fun over here. I love my New Jersey shore. I'm a New Jersey girl. And South Jersey right now is suffering. It is really, because usually this week it's on the less expensive side because kids are in school. But because the swimming pools are closed and the water is still cold, no one is renting. It's just like really, really suffering. You can't really advertise. No one wants to travel that far to look at the property to rent for the summer. Hamptons, the same situation, even worse with Hamptons, because we were in New York, we were on lockdown till Monday, and you couldn't even show the property. Officially, we were not even allowed to photograph anything, but because we got essential license, we are the marketing company, so we do the photography, the floor plans, and everything else. We had to apply for essential license to prepare marketing material, but they couldn't really, the agent could not really even target anybody because they were not allowed to cold calling or anything else. So our business went down 90% at some point. It was just like very, very sad. And right now it's coming up, and obviously everyone and his brother wants to list everything, and it's just like not enough photographers. In the 3 months that we missed, we have to squeeze in few days. Our photographers are taking like 7, 8 listings that they photograph and do floor plans and do drones and videos. Each order on average went up by like 600%. It's just really, because now agents are so paranoid that something else will happen and they have to be prepared, so that listing that they grab, they just throw money at it and have virtual showings and Zoom meetings and things like that. So both of our secondary markets are suffering. And if you take upstate New York, where you have the Catskills and everything else, and the golfing communities, they are also in pain. So it really hit us, you know,
that
all
makes
the way
sense.
around.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
On the positive side, the houses with like $300,000-$400,000 range, which I guess for us it's very inexpensive. Bidding wars everywhere. My son and his wife, they are looking, because they live in a city, they want to get out as soon as possible, and it's just like, doesn't matter what they touch. It's a bidding war. They lost three offers already.
Oh man, that stinks. All right, guys, we've got 8 minutes before we, I think, have next session, the general session opening up. So anybody seeing anything in their markets that might translate to other markets across the South? I mean, I think we can all say that majority of our out-of-state buyers are most likely, I would guess, come from the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic states, not a whole lot of West Coast, East Coast travel. Are y'all seeing a lot more of those buyers coming into your market since the COVID?
Atlanta has been a market, at least the part that we've been, that we call them the refugees from the Northwest and the Northeast come here because you get a city, the job market is there, and the cost of living is lower. But it's gotten very expensive to live in the city, and now I think what we're going to start to see is more of the suburban areas being built up and moved to, and people just don't have to be so close to a job and stuck in traffic for 3 hours a day.
What I've seen here in this market, for instance, and Scott and Lori can probably comment on this, is historically we haven't had to, as brokerages or agents, had to compete in the technology field as much. You know, we probably had, 3.5 agents that did 3D tours. I'm joking, but not very many 3D tours, like actual Matterports and things like that. Very few really good, well edited videos and things like that. But I've noticed in the past few months, brokerages are teaching their agents to do more and more and more and more of those. So we're seeing here kind of the first embracing of technology across a wider base. And I think for us, what I hope happens is that takes some of the smaller players and moves them out, because they realize they have to compete at a higher level to maintain their business practice. And that's what I know our market needs, that is for some of the smaller players to move out.
Here in the Villages, Florida, we have 95 pools and 54 golf courses. So when Brad Huffines was talking, that's my market. I only sell here in this exclusive area, and we have about 90 to 100,000 homes at this point. What we're seeing is our developer is stabilizing his prices. So when he does that, start adding furniture, golf carts, etc. to it, that means our market's going to take a little bit of a turn. But what we're seeing is people are coming from the Northeast, primarily out of those high tax districts, and are wanting to come down because now they can work from home. They figured that out. The companies have figured that out. And so we're going to see a whole lot of that, and we're already starting to see that. but we still have those sellers that are very concerned about who's in their home.
And let me clarify something. When I say smaller players, I don't mean smaller brokerages. I mean the part-timers, the 1 or 2 house a year. I just want to make sure that I'm clear.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was gonna ask that, Brad.
No, because here, a
1000%,
lot of the smaller brokerages actually do very well and are in many cases better than many agents in the larger brokerages.
I think consumer expectation for a level of marketing a property has changed now with this, and at an agent level, you have to understand how to market beyond just pretty pictures.
We've been doing in our marketplace because of the military influx, and I'm sure Brad and Lori would agree with this. We've been doing, Skype and FaceTime, virtual tours for years. I mean, at least I have in our marketplace. And, so for us, that's not, this whole COVID thing was sort of like, oh, okay, let's just move on. And, we're doing the same thing we were doing, 3 months ago when someone called from Korea and said they wanted to see a house, and you went out and you got on FaceTime or Google Hangouts or WhatsApp and said, okay, here's your house. Do you like it or don't like it? Or they're over in Iraq or Afghanistan and they're in a little bunker somewhere and they're watching you walk through the house. So, I mean, for our purposes, I don't know that it's changed that much. I do agree that I see more professional photography in our marketplace, at least, and that's a welcome addition. And I don't know that I'm seeing as much video tours. I mean, I see the Zillow walkthrough tours and I see the slideshow tours. I don't think that our marketplace really can afford to, at the $150 to $160 average house range, see a lot of video tours. I think you see some on definitely on the higher end, and the higher end stuff is moving, and at least in Fayetteville area. I mean, Yeah,
that's great. I'd love to ask a question to end. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, what do you guys think is going to happen to the rest of this year in a COVID world in real estate?
I would have been a 10 originally, and now I'm probably like a 7.5, 8.
Yeah, I'm a 9. Chime in, guys. Whoever's here, in terms of I'd love to know like where, what your temperature gauge is as to what you feel like the market's going to be doing.
I think it's going to kick us. Sorry, I think it's going to kick us into a buyer's market. Actually, I really feel like this lack of inventory is going to dry it up. I saw about 2 years ago in February when the market hit real well, buyers stopped. Buyers said, that's too much money, I'll hang tight. Sellers lose their stuff for a little bit, come down on price, and then I really do think it's going to swing into a buyer's market in the next 1.5 to 2 years. Those are totally made up years, by the way. I'm just gut feeling.
And you know what, that needs to happen, and our market did. I mean, there were prices that were just going absolutely nuts, and they needed to calm down a little bit. We're about to wrap, you guys. Thanks for joining in. We'll be around. Lori, Brad, and I are ambassadors, so you can hunt us down at Inman and we can answer any questions. And thank you so much for contributing to this conversation and adding your voice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, guys. And she meant that, Brad.